Stride is the IBC Eureka DEX built for the Cosmos Hub. And what that means is Stride's working with the Interchain Foundation and Cosmos Hub to kind of build a leading DEX on the Cosmos Hub to serve as the liquidity router for all of the IBC connected chains, which are now Ethereum, but also Babylon, Satoshi, etc.
Hey GM, today's guest is Vishal, co-founder of Stride, the leading liquid staking protocol in the Cosmos ecosystem. What began as a mission to bring secure liquid staking to the Cosmos Hub has now evolved into something much bigger, a bold leap into the future of interchain DeFi. With the launch of Stride DEX, Stride is upgrading itself as the IBC-powered DEX and the liquidity engine for the Cosmos Hub, backed by the Interchain Foundation and deeply aligned with the vision of the IBC Eureka. This is BlockHunters Voices, the podcast for cool kids from the blockchain space. I'm Joachim Buju, your host. Welcome, Vishal. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm good. Always good, brother. It's a good day to be in crypto, even if it's a bad day to be in crypto.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have any other way.
Exactly. And I always like to start from the beginning, and to see exactly the person that I'm talking with. So, Vishal, let's start with your personal journey. What were you doing before co-founding Stride, and what was the first that brought you to crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I first heard about crypto probably like in 2014 or something, and I heard about Bitcoin. But at the time, I was like in like school, and I like didn't think anything about it, and I was like, oh, like that sounds like whatever, like sounds kind of like a fad. Biggest mistake. But then in 2018, I was just finished college, and I was gonna go to grad school or something. But I happened to I graduated a little bit early, and I happened to work at this company called Basis at the time. It was building a stablecoin. I was originally just thinking about doing it like it's like it's a temporary thing, but then I fell in love. So it was basically we're building a stablecoin on Ethereum, and this is a long time ago. Like the stablecoin market was much smaller at the time. There was a lot of like open design questions and how things would get built, and so there was a lot of really cool work. Did that for a little over a year, kind of the full cycle of Basis. But then the company ultimately shut down and returned capital to investors. It was much harder to build algorithmic stablecoin than we thought it was, and we kind of seen that over the years. So after that, I was in crypto a little bit, but I kind of switched to. I was maybe a little bit worried about at this company for a year and it shut down. So I went to traditional finance for a little bit. So I went to like a hedge fund where I met my co-founder Riley, and we worked together for a couple of years. And then I left to start my own hedge fund. We traded like U.S. equities. I got acquired by another fund, and then I ran tech there for a couple of years. But this is over COVID, and so Riley, my co-founder I work with, and Aiden, our other co-founder, we're all living together in like a house over COVID. We're in the same bubble. And we're doing a ton of DeFi and nights and weekends, it's like got more and more interest in it. Started like launching kind of random projects in Ethereum. Someone Cosmos and like a validator in Cosmos. And just started doing like a deep dive in all of crypto, started spending so much more time on it than our actual jobs. And we decided, like this is what's really drawing us in. And so we quit our jobs and full time started ideating and focusing crypto. And we spent some time looking kind of like all different ecosystems and fell in love with Cosmos, and that's how we got here.
Yeah, and I remember at that point in time, the battle for liquid staking in the Cosmos was you and Quicksilver, and I think Quicksilver didn't launch eventually, right?
Yeah, what happened, it was us. P-Stake had an existing solution, but you had to bridge your atom over to Ethereum, I believe. So it was Stride, Quicksilver, and P-Stake. But yeah, what happened was, I think in like March of 2022, there was the spec for IBC v3 at the time. It added this thing called interchain accounts, and that kind of allowed liquid staking to happen. And I think everyone was kind of sprinting to go to market first, because you have so much. It's so valuable to be the first to market. And we ended up launching in September, so it was kind of a very fast sprint to kind of get the blockchain out. And then Quicksilver, I believe, launched a couple months later, and P-Stake as well. But yeah, we were first to market by a month or two.
And why did you choose Cosmos as an ecosystem? Why not any other ecosystem? I mean, we have a bunch of L1s, Cosmos stuff.
Totally. So we spent a long time kind of looking at all the top 10 crypto ecosystems, like when, all the L2s, but then Cosmos, looking at like Polkadot, looking at like Tron even, we spent a long time. And I think what we came away with was there were really interesting primitives on other ecosystems, but the L1 model didn't make that much sense to us in terms of we thought there were going to be like very large crypto institutions are kind of like protocols that generate tons of revenue, create lots of value for users. And living on L1, they are so constrained by the L1 itself. So if you have like a something that's just a smart contract on Ethereum, they can't do so many things that Cosmos chains can do. We thought as protocols get bigger, they would start wanting to move to chains in order to like just make the product better, capture more value for users. We thought at the time most applications launched in L1s is kind of distribution. Like, if you're on Ethereum or you're on Solana, tons of users are already on those chains and you can kind of they can use your app very easily. But as protocols get bigger, we thought they would move to their own chains. And at the time, the Cosmos infrastructure or the Cosmos design was excellent, but it was still kind of hard to build in the space. Like a lot of the core infrastructure for IBC, et cetera, wasn't really around. But we thought over the next 5-10 years, that would all kind of get fixed, the UX get much better, and we'd see many more kind of large crypto protocols building their own chains. And I think actually we largely have seen this. You've seen like DYDX move to their own chain, chains like Celestia, Babylon, Ondo. Even protocols used to be their own app, move their own chain, like Uniswap, huge app on Ethereum, just launched their own chain. So that was kind of the core thesis we had. And I think that it's still what we largely believe in. Like there's going to be all these huge applications that want to create the most value for users and the best product experience. They're all going to build their own chains, and building Cosmos is the best way to kind of help those protocols achieve their vision.
So basically, that was the moment you realized that liquid staking isn't just a feature, but it's like the foundation for DeFi primitive and a perfect feature for the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing that a lot of Cosmos chains struggle with is they need to have high economic security. And so they pay a lot in staking rewards. But as a result, now the cost of just kind of like holding the token is higher. Like if you have 10% inflation, just participating in DeFi or taking out a loan or whatever it is, so much harder because now you have to beat that 10% hurdle rate. And so, we thought LSTs are kind of a really core part of any chain. Like you look at any major L1, it has, an LST. And so thought it made a lot of sense. And it was one of the core primitives Cosmos was lacking. It's one thing we've kind of seen, I think, a lot of Cosmos DeFi now look at instant lending markets or stablecoins. LSTs and Stride LSTs are a big part of the collateral we use.
Exactly. And now let's get right to everything Stride. For someone brand new, what exactly is Stride and how would you describe the protocol?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say we're at a bit of a turning point for Stride because we just announced a really huge product. And so now I think we're describing Stride. We said Stride is the IBC Eureka DEX built for the Cosmos Hub. And what that means is Stride's built working with the Interchain Foundation, Cosmos Hub, to kind of build a leading DEX on the Cosmos Hub to serve as the liquidity router for all of the IBC connected chains, which are now Ethereum, but also Babylon, Celestia, et cetera. And we want to integrate that DEX with Stride's existing LSTs. So imagine if you're using the DEX, you can earn yield in all sorts of ways that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And really working on integrating both the DEX and the LST into one really amazing product.
So basically, you're going to have a DEX where I'm going to have tokens like ST Atom, ST TIA, ST DYDX, ST DIM, and I can get extra yield because I can deposit them. Into the liquidity pools of the Stride DEX.
Yeah, I would think about it like we're a DEX first. So the main purpose for Stride is with Barry and Magni leadership at the ICF. They are now really expanding IBC. So now it's going to connect to it's already connected to Ethereum. It's going to connect to Base, Arbitrum, Solana, Bitcoin, maybe all these chains. And there's going to be all this flow routing across these ecosystems to various Cosmos chains. our main goal is want to be the highest quality IBC DEX for all these flows to be a really multi-chain experience and drive value back to the hub. And one of the ways that I think we're going to make the DEX really stand out is for LPers or anyone using the DEX, you have all sorts of kind of idle capital that's lying around, maybe like LP positions that are out of range, or capital you haven't yet deployed. And we're looking into kind of integrating that with LSTs, so LPers and users can earn even more yield. Yeah.
So basically the difference between Stride and Osmosis is that you're going to have a multi-chain DEX where you don't have to bridge assets from other ecosystems because you have IBC Eureka and everything is already there.
Exactly. So the way I think about it is, it's not that we're necessarily competing with Osmosis, but we're just serving very different users and trying to hopefully grow the whole Cosmos pie together. And what we're really focused on is like this multi-chain experience. So imagine you have someone on Ethereum, they want to deposit into Babylon. They can route directly through the Cosmos Hub. It's the fastest route. They can swap through Stride. We'll have the best liquidity. And we can really serve those users. And the second thing is we really want to be the Cosmos DEX. So if you're an Atom holder, you want to drive value back out and want to use Cosmos Hub apps. Stride is deployed natively on the Cosmos Hub, uses its revenue to buy and burn Atom. All the transaction fees use Atom. So really focusing on the IBC Eureka kind of customers, as well as Cosmos Hub DeFi apps, Cosmos Hub users. That's what we're trying to focus on.
So basically Stride is now reshaping itself around the Cosmos Hub and around the IBC Eureka. What are some of the other unique features of the new DEX that set it apart from other protocols?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And just to echo that, Stride now is fully focused on the Cosmos Hub, fully committed to the Cosmos Hub, and the Stride DEX is trying to be as Atom aligned as possible to really try to help bootstrap this next phase of Atom's growth. In terms of features, we're basically trying to hone in on three core things we think will differentiate the DEX. So the first is universal coverage. So what this means is on the DEX natively, you can trade from any chain, any wallet that you already might use. So think, you have MetaMask or Rabby on Ethereum or Base, or you might have Phantom or Backpack on Solana. You can connect all of those on the Stride DEX, and you don't have to move your capital around or deposit. It'll look like it's one flow. So universal coverage across all the major assets: Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, all the kind of major things people want to trade in one place. The second thing that we're trying to focus on is LPs first. So for our DEX, we're really prioritizing the LP experience, so making it really simple to deposit, adding vaults as like a native asset for the DEX or a first-class primitive. So for users who want to LP passively, they'll be actively managed vaults that they can deploy into. Trying to look into ways to increase the yield for LPers, make the experience much nicer. And then we're also adding a bunch of kind of advanced functionality to the DEX to enable this. So we're calling these kind of like hooks, but they're basically like actions people can do to LP or trade smarter. So you might be able to LP and then withdraw automatically at some price, or maybe smartly rebalance, or you can trade doing DCA or limit orders, kind of have this all built into the DEX. And the last thing that we're trying to focus on is being very safe and secure. So we're partnering with, we're backed by the Untitled Foundation. We'll be audited by the core Cosmos developing team. And really want to make this one of the safest places you can trade in crypto. Stride's been live for 2.5 years. We've had no major security incidents or hacks. We're hoping to continue that. So maybe just to recap, universal coverage, can trade all chains, all wallets, kind of natively on the Stride DEX, very integrated with IBC. The second is LPs first, lots of advanced functionality to prioritize LPs and make the trading experience better. And then the last one is very safe and secure. We're working with top class EVM developer Cosmos developers and top class auditors as well, and backed by the Interchain Foundation, partner with Interchain Labs.
And I saw in your website that liquid staking will give the DEX superpowers. What does this mean, and how exactly will it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things that we think are like superpowers for the DEX. The liquid staking thing is, I think, maybe the most interesting because we have, this large liquid staking protocol as well as now a DEX. So we're looking into ways that basically people can, maybe two key things. One, can we make the UX better for users? So imagine you're on the DEX or you want to liquid stake. It might be cheaper to trade to the DEX. They'll kind of be embedded natively. Like if you're on the DEX or you want to swap, the flow for liquid staking in the DEX is kind of the exact same. So it makes it much easier for users to stake. But the second thing that may be more important is basically we're going to take there's all sorts of capital in DEX that is kind of sitting idle. And we're looking into lots of ways to increase that yield for LPers. So let's say I'm LPing Atom ETH, or let's take maybe Atom Osmo or something, or maybe Atom ETH is a simple example. You might have lots of Atom on that LP position that might be out of range, and it might take a while for that to come back in range. Maybe you can opt into liquid staking that capital. So even when you're out of range, you can earn some additional yield. And then for LPers now, you get much more yield when you LP. There's other types of idle capital in DEX too. Maybe you take a lending position. Like let's say you want to trade with leverage in the DEX, and you want to take out a loan against a position. Automatically liquid stake that under the hood and give the user a better yield on their margin trade than they want to do. I'm going to release a lot more details on this soon, but yeah, basically thinking lots of ways that you might want to earn more yield on capital index, and that'll kind of be integrated natively. The other superpowers we're thinking though are kind of more advanced features, and we'll roll these out at launch a bunch, but then it'll be permissionless pretty soon, and users can add their own features in. But imagine kind of all the standard things you see on DEXs, maybe like range orders or limit orders or different types of orders like immediate or cancel or like good till close or something like that. Might have orders like that, as well as things like DCAing or stop losses, and trying to add a bunch of these functionalities that users are used to across DEXs and other like top tier trading experiences and bring that natively to the DEX.
So basically the Cosmos Hub is going to be the number one DeFi spot, with Stride being the number one player there.
Yeah, that's our hope. And I think, this is really building on what Barry and Mag have done. Like they've done such a good job, I would say, over the last 5 months. So really pushing IBC and the capabilities they can have. They're connected to Ethereum. They're connected to so many other chains. And they've also gotten a lot of good buy-in, I would say, from Cosmos projects. And we're hoping, and I think we're already seeing a ton of liquidity flow in from Ethereum and other chains over to big Cosmos chains like Babylon. And we want Stride to really be deeply plugged in there and have the Cosmos Hub be the center for Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, ARB, OP, Cosmos, etc., all these tokens, and allow users from all those spaces to kind of use the product.
Yeah, interesting that you said that, because I had Vishal from Alice on the podcast, and he said when IBC Eureka turned on, actually the biggest pool was wrapped BTC on Alice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rather than before IBC Eureka was live. So we can definitely see some improvements. I think people don't know yet. That's one of the issues right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very early for IBC Eureka. They just rolled it out, like I think within the last month, and a bunch of their kind of guaranteed customers, I think, or customers already signed up, are still kind of waiting to launch the protocol or launch more products. Like Babylon just launched, but they're still building out their whole DeFi ecosystem. A bunch of other chains I think are still integrating into Eureka. But I think this is going to be so huge once it starts getting more mature. Imagine like you want to trade on DYDX and you start with ETH and Ethereum. You can onboard that ETH to USDC on DYDX in one click. Or if you want to, onboard to Injective or any of these kind of large Cosmos chains. Or even, let's say you want to go from Ethereum to Solana, you can do that through IBC, in one click as well. So I think as the awareness grows and the product gets more mature over the next 6-12 months, I think we're going to see it everywhere. Regarding
Stride's go-to-market, how do you guys plan to attract the initial liquidity for the DEX? Will it be like an incentives campaign, or how do you see it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So we're doing a few things in the go-to-market. So first, I think for all DEXs, getting initial liquidity is one of the hardest problems for them and hardest things to do. And we want to be very focused around what assets we try to focus liquidity on. So let's say we only have like X dollars liquidity. How can you make that the most efficient? And then we're going to focus early on really just a few key pools and make sure it's very good on those pools. So we're looking into like data right now on what traders and Cosmos tend to trade and what sizes they want to trade on. And we want to make sure we're hyper-focused on that existing retail trading volume. We get more bang for buck from our LPs. And then, I think we will probably do some sort of campaign to get more initial liquidity, maybe some sort of incentive campaign. We're also trying to work with other protocols to make the Stride DEX the best venue for them. So for other protocols, like let's say Baby or someone else might want to think about adding liquidity to Stride DEX, we're probably going to do something like half the revenue that Stride gets in those pools goes to buy and LP that token or do other things that can drive value, as well as maybe incentive matching, like use the revenue of the DEX back to incentives in the DEX, or maybe match external teams, as well as probably incentive campaign from Stride or maybe even the Cosmos Hub. And the last thing is we're working pretty closely with a few of the market makers and liquidity providers that already do atom liquidity to try to strike try and make it, sell them on this vision for the Cosmos Hub and get them to deploy their liquidity on Cosmos. So yeah, those three things, and we're hoping we can come out of the gate with reasonable size volume. But I think from there, what we're really hoping is to get this initial kind of bedrock of volume from an incentive campaign or these deals we're striking with these large atom holders, and then we want to use that to really start getting a lot of volume in the DEX. So we think we're the focus on like retail trading. So really make sure we're the tightest spreads, the most liquid for retail users. That can drive more fees to the LPs, as well as all these flows in IBC Eureka. So imagine like there's Bitcoin flows or ETH flows. That will also drive trading volumes to the DEX, and hoping that will start growing the LP base pretty organically.
But even more so than liquidity, attracting traders is like one of the most biggest issues faced by DEXs today. How do you plan to attract trading volume and users actually trading on Stride?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So we're basically right now we're very actively trying to talk to all the biggest traders in Cosmos. So if anyone watching is a trader and wants to get feedback, please reach out. There's a box right on the Stride website, and we read all of those responses and reach out to users to get more feedback. So we're trying to really make it very listen to what people actually want. We've done a deep dive into DEXs on kind of every ecosystem, looking at what the best features are and what we should prioritize to build. So that's the first thing, trying to get a ton of user feedback. And then on top of that, I think we're hoping to offer something that's pretty different and having two pretty core initial users. So I think the first group of users is just users who are bridging over to any of these Cosmos chains or using IBC Eureka. For them, I think they use Stride almost automatically. So if you go to like, let's say the Babylon site and you use the onboarding flow, it'll prefer to, by default, if you're onboarding, let's say ETH from Ethereum to Baby on Babylon, it'll route through the Cosmos Hub. And then if Stride can offer a good price for that ETH to Baby swap, we'll get that flow as well. Obviously, we have bad prices to go elsewhere, but we're being really focused on making sure those bridging users use Stride in the hub. And the last one is there's a lot of people who talk to on Telegram or Twitter who are really active Atom community members. Like they've held Atom for years. They really believe in the mission and really want to support the next wave of kind of Cosmos DeFi. We are thinking of that group as a really core user base, and we're trying to do a bunch more to align ourselves to those users. So, for example, buying Atom or burning Atom with the DEX revenue. We're also looking at where those users trade and making sure whatever they are used to has the best liquidity on this DEX. So let's say the Atom holders want to buy a Newt, for example, make sure we'll have that liquidity on the DEX. But yeah, the main way, I think it's kind of a boring answer, but just we're really putting a lot of effort in talking to the users and designing features for them. Like one example, we heard from early user calls that limit orders were really big and they don't exist now on every DEX. So now that's like a top priority for us to make sure we have limit orders in the highest quality way we can. And really to encourage any listeners who are active traders and want to reach out to us, please reach out. We're like very actively trying to talk to anyone who's interested.
Would you consider Stride's initial target users retail or more like professional traders in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think retail traders who are very Atom focused, I think we want that to be a target user. So someone who's held Atom for a long time, wants to support the Cosmos DeFi apps. And then I think we also do want to get advanced traders who maybe are more cross ecosystems. So someone who's a big trader of ETH, Sol, or Bitcoin and want to service those. That I think is our initial core user group. So real Cosmos diehards and the more pro for cross-chain users.
That sounds good. Before you move forward, do you have any kind of other features that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot already. I'm trying to think if there's anything else though. Oh, but maybe the last thing we've been chatting pretty closely with other DeFi teams within Cosmos who are trying to build in the Cosmos Hub. So people like Ellis, for example, have done a really good job. And we were trying to integrate all of these really natively into Stride DEX. So for example, if there's a high quality lending protocol, we want users to be able to use that directly within the Stride app, kind of all integrated and looks almost like a Sax-like experience. So I think what we're hoping to have is vaults, lending protocol, maybe perps, kind of all from other partners on the Cosmos Hub, but kind of embedded easily to use on the Stride DEX. So maybe you can like link out directly or have it in the UI itself. It's still not 100% finalized what those might be because teams are still kind of deciding when their timelines are, when they're going to build in the Cosmos Hub. But if anyone listening is someone building on a Cosmos Hub, we want to integrate you natively into the DEX as soon as possible. So, yeah.
I really like that this vision actually starts to work, and I see teams from the Cosmos Hub actually working together, being atom aligned, and from the initial Atom white paper to this day is been a long road.
Yeah, it has, and it's been, I would say, this is like a meme, but there's so much Cosmos drama, historically, like every week there's some sort of new drama. And honestly, over the last few months, I really have not felt that much drama. It's been much more collaborative. Everyone, I think, is kind of like, I think with the new leadership, everyone has a good vision that they're unifying around, and everyone wants the same thing. They want more users in Cosmos, more liquidity. They want to build better apps. And it's been really good. We've been talking to like Ellis, the Shade team, who's super out of line. They buy and burn Atom regularly as part of their treasury. Talking to Magma, just a bunch of teams in the space, and I'd say the last 6 months has been so much more collaborative than I've ever seen in Cosmos.
Sounds good, and I'm really looking forward. Moving along, Stride began as a standalone Cosmos L1 before transitioning into a consumer chain under the interchain security. But today, as we've talked already, it plays a much broader role in the ecosystem. How do you see your alignment with the Cosmos Hub evolving going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I think at Stride now, at least in our end, we want to be as aligned with Atom as possible. So whoever is on the table to drive more alignment, I think we want to do it. We want Stride to be the most out-of-line protocol out there. So I think right now we're on ICS. My sense is the Cosmos Hub developers kind of want to move from ICS to PSS. So right now, all the Hub validators validate Stride. Yeah, and they want to move to a model where some subset validators can choose. I think we are totally, like, we want whatever the Cosmos Hub wants. And so I think whenever that's ready, we're probably going to migrate to PSS and try to make it so we have as much alignment as possible within Stride and the Cosmos Hub validators. It's a little bit unclear, I would say, right now, just because I think we're still waiting on the Hub development team to scope out what that migration will look like and what type of validators we can delegate to. But I think we're definitely going to stay with something like that. And then in terms of alignment, we're trying to do lots of other stuff to try align with the Hub. So, for example, like Hub-related projects, and we're hoping to do some sort of revenue share or incentive matching from the Stride DEX revenue, as well as buying and burning Atom with a good portion of all the revenue as well.
Yeah, if you're gonna shift to a PSS or Sovereign L1, what decision is gonna be? You will have our full support as validators, BlockHunters validators.
I appreciate that. You guys do such a good job. I mean, your nodes, your validator is incredible. But also, you guys have great nodes. I feel like I regularly, when I'm trying to query something, you guys have like great public-facing nodes, I believe, and they're always so reliable.
Yeah. We try to do our best to cover everything from community contributions to technical contributions and even financial contributions where it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys do a great job.
This is not about BlockHunters, it's about Stride. So, your mission is to become the main liquidity foundation for the Cosmos Hub's DeFi future. What's your vision for how Stride powers this next phase?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two key things we're trying to hope to power. So the first is when you have, there's so many like mature Cosmos chains launching now. Like just in the last year, we had a bunch of really big ones, like multi-billion-dollar FTV launches, chains with a lot of users. We want, we want Stride to really help, like be a deep part of these new chains and the onboarding and liquidity flow for them. So if there's a new Cosmos chain launching, we want it to be a no-brainer for them to house a lot of their liquidity on Stride DEX. So we're going to want to align incentives, use Stride revenue to align with that protocol, maybe like buying LP their token, marketing campaigns, direct our users to use their protocol. So that is like a core part, I'd say, of how Stride wants to be a liquidity engine. The Cosmos Hub ultimately really wants to be a good service provider to all the other Cosmos SDK chains. And I think Stride can help be a big part of that. But the second thing I think is there's going to be, with IBC Eureka, there's all these bridge flows and volume that are going to flow from all these ecosystems through the Cosmos Hub. The Cosmos Hub is kind of like a router. And I think we can use that to start building a real ecosystem on the Hub, because apps on the Cosmos Hub now will have native liquidity for ETH, Sol, all these other assets, and all the Cosmos assets. And I think there's going to be a DeFi ecosystem of like lending, stable coins, NFTs, maybe like more out there ideas too. Very Bag cooking up some really cool stuff. We want to make sure we conserve those chains or those apps and grow with them. So if there's like a lending protocol that takes off, or maybe a stablecoin takes off, we want to make sure whatever we need to do, like new DEX design or direct more incentives or how to help promote it. We want to, those are like first class customers. We want to make sure we can do whatever we can. So ultimately, as DeFi on the Cosmos Hub grows and there's more bridging and swap volume over IBC Eureka, Stride DEX can serve more users, make more revenue, buy more Atom. So that's the flywheel we're trying to focus on.
Yeah, I'm really bullish on buybacks from the revenue stream because, in crypto it's very hard to actually have revenue. So the buybacks are almost impossible.
Yeah. Actually, Stride, we rolled out buybacks, I think 2 months ago, almost exactly. It was voted on through like Stride governance and devs implemented it 2 months ago. And it's already bought back, I think, 300,000 Stride tokens, so about 0.3% of the supply. And hopefully as the DEX goes online and revenue goes up, we can buy and burn more. But I think it's been a good mechanism. Community really likes it. Like, people love buy mechanisms, and it's very simple to understand. And I think we'll be hopefully one of the largest burners or buyers of Atom as well, like as a protocol.
Yeah, because it's very easy to understand. And it builds trust the easiest way because you have skin in the game. It's a no-brainer to do this. I don't know why other teams don't do it. But
yeah, totally. The only thing I've heard, some people say like they prefer buy and LP instead of buy and burn. Because and so maybe we're looking into that too. We don't there's so little data in crypto because there's so few protocols that have revenue and do these sort of experiments. So we're trying to research it right now. But yeah, I think those are, the two best options, either buy and burn or buy and LP. And given Stride DEX, like the LP might be helpful too, because then it makes a moat for the DEX. You have lots of liquidity on DEX. It's guaranteed to be there. Better experience for traders and users. So we're looking into it. But one of those two, I think, is the best option.
And how do you balance Stride's role as a neutral liquidity staking provider with its increasing alignment with the hub's native infrastructure?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Stride is very Atom aligned, and we want Stride's growth to help fuel Atom's growth as well. But the LST product, I think, is ultimately we want that to be very neutral. And I think it's better for the hub too. Like the hub benefits as Stride grows and gets more revenue, more protocol fees, is more entrenched. And I think for these LSTs, we want the LST to be as attractive of a product as possible for that ecosystem. So for example, if Stride launched like SP Baby, we want that to be very Babylon line because that's going to lead to the most growth. So while the overall protocol revenues and design is very aligned with Atom, the individual products, I think we're going to try to make them as optimized for these new ecosystems because that ultimately helps Atom more. Like the bigger those products are, the more value we drive back at them.
And looking ahead, what's next in the next 6 to 12 months for Stride and the broader DEX and LST roadmap, and what does all of this mean for the Stride token?
Yeah, so I think next 6 to 12 months we're laser focused on shipping the DEX and making it really high quality. Want to have a beta out there, want to get user feedback, make lots of turns on the UX, make it really clean. And then on the 6 to 12 month time frame, I think our hope is to really just grow the IBC ecosystem and how much volume goes over the Cosmos Hub, as well as help build out more Cosmos Hub DeFi apps or help serve other teams that are building those apps. I think what a great outcome will look like for us in a year from now is we want Stride DEX to be the primary swap venue for IBC traffic or traffic over the hub, especially IBC Eureka traffic, as well as supporting a few really big, exciting apps on the Cosmos Hub. So maybe like some social apps or some DeFi apps, stablecoin or something. And we want to make sure like that would be a great outcome. And then as well as maybe Stride being the default venue for Cosmos Hub users, people who hold Atom or think of themselves as Cosmos users want to be the primary venue for that. Over the next, I think, 2 to 3 years, the hope is we can build from IBC Eureka and make Stride one of the best venues to trade across any ecosystem. Like with IBC Eureka, it's so much access to liquidity. Stride could become the default venue for Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, ARB, OP, Uni, a consolidation point for all these different ecosystems, as well as all the Cosmos tokens.
The future is multi-chain.
Yeah, the future is multi-chain, and the Cosmos Hub is leading that. It's the most multi-chain, and Stride wants to be a liquidity engine for that. in terms of Stride token, I think, it depends on how the product launch goes and how growth goes. But there's billions of dollars of flow over IBC today, and I think Stride can capture a lot of that volume, especially as IBC Eureka grows with the Cosmos Hub, and hopefully that token holders ultimately determine what happens to their revenue. But right now, all that revenue goes to buy and burn Stride, and we're hoping with DEX going live, the revenue it goes up as well for the protocol.
Building in this Cosmos is not easy. Building in crypto is not easy. You've been working on Stride 2.5 years. What's the most intense challenge you faced as a co-founder?
Oh, that's a great question. So the kinds of challenges we face, I think, are constantly evolving. Like recently, for example, we were thinking a lot about how we can be more out-of-aligned or grow in the ecosystem, and then we made this whole deal with Barry Nag, or with the ICF, sorry. But I think the biggest challenge is probably at launch for us, just because we went, it was such a sprint to launch LSTs in Cosmos. Like it was when the tech came live, and every other ecosystem you see, it's like first to market gets so much market share. And we had done crypto development, we were developers, but we didn't know anything about Cosmos development, like, building a blockchain. And it was basically like a 4.5 month sprint to get this blockchain live with a ton of first of its time kind of features. Like we did a bunch of modifications of the core IBC repo or extensions on it. And it was a grueling 4 months. We were basically living in the office. We had a bed an air mattress in the office. And I remember we were in this WeWork at the time, and they would shut off the AC at 8 p.m. And we kept asking them to like keep the AC on post 8 p.m., but it would just get so hot. And so I remember we bought our own ACs. We brought into the office, and we put them out after 8 p.m. And oh my gosh, it was a very busy time. But honestly, I look back on it fondly. It was cool.
The good old times.
Good old times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have like any habits, systems, routines that help you stay sharp day to day, that keep you grounded?
It's a great question. I feel like, it's something I constantly struggle with. It's hard to, I feel like there's so much going on always. It's hard to keep up. I do a few things maybe that I think help. My wife and I, we have 2 nights a week that we set aside just for like date night basically. And that's maybe a lot, but I think it is very nice. It like really helps like take your mind off things, ground it. It's good to have like there's a lot of work going on. I think it's important to also invest in your relationships. And then I've been Riley and Aiden are much more into fitness than I am, but they've gotten me into try to working out in the morning. So probably do it every morning, but like 4 or 5 times a week, try to go to the gym and do at least something. I'm trying to sleep better, but I can always sleep better. I'm always I feel like I always procrastinate on it.
Yeah, sleep is the key. If I don't get at least 8 hours per day, I'm totally screwed. But
yeah,
it is what it is. Do you have like some people that influenced your career, but non-crypto sources? Could be like I don't know, like directors, like writers, like podcasters, anybody that shaped the person that you are today.
Yeah, that's a great question. And non-crypto. Yeah, definitely. So, give me a second. I'm just gonna think about it. Yeah, I think definitely. So, I mean, this one's maybe cliche. My parents, obviously, I think huge inspiration. They sacrifice so much, I think, for their kids, and it really shaped, I think, the way I see the world and what I want to do. And then there was a couple of teachers, I think, that had a really large influence on me. I had a math teacher in high school who, to this day, I think he was just the best teacher I ever had. And I was not that into, or I was into math before, but I think it really changed it. I mean, really fell in love with it, and that in some way led to me going into crypto. Like my first entry into crypto was very math heavy. I was doing a lot of like protocol design, and that I think really has been a really big impact. And then this one is kind of random, but one of my first ever like jobs was an internship, and I ended up working there over the school year as well. But I had a boss who I think was a really good mentor. He was, I think, kind of similar to me in background and gave a lot of good advice around what to prioritize and kind of just kind of great life advice. Yeah, I think all of these have been really influential on who I am. But also, like all the standard answers too, like all my friends and family, my wife obviously has a huge impact on me. But I would say these are the teacher and then my first boss are probably the two maybe like unexpected answers.
We are entering the last chapter of the podcast, and we want to wrap things up with some fun, rapid fire questions to get a sense of where your head's at when it comes to crypto. But for this one, just quick top of the mind answers.
Mhm.
What's the most underrated and overrated idea in crypto right now?
Oh, overrated. I think the AI agents, they're really promising for a time, but we haven't seen anything interesting. And I feel like we got to like innovate more there, or just kind of like move on. And then I think the most underrated, I think the bridging rails. Like I know people kind of talk about it every now and then, but they have improved a little bit, but they're still not great. And I think it's truly the biggest thing holding crypto back right now is it's so hard to move from crypto to fiat and back and forth.
Top 3 crypto apps you personally use the most?
Pay, number one by far. Love Pay, great app. Lets you like it's like Venmo basically, but on chain and private. After that, probably honestly Osmosis. I use Osmosis every day. It's like a great app, a great DEX. It inspired us a lot and has I think they do a really good job making a really great product. And then obviously Stride, but I'll leave that one out. Love using Stride. Polymarket, obviously, yeah. I honestly, I almost forgot that one was crypto. Like that one,
Yeah.
it barely even feels like crypto when you use it. Yeah,
I mean, that's the dream to forget that it's crypto app, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's one crypto belief you've completely changed your mind in the past year?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I used to be much more on sovereignty. Like everyone should have lots of independence on our chains. Like everyone should be a chain. And I think over the last year, I've kind of like changed my mind on that a little bit. Like it's a bit more about stages. Like for really early protocols, it might make sense to be a smart contract or tied to the ecosystem. But for a lot of chains, it makes sense to be a protocol. But yeah, I think my mind on sovereignty has changed a little bit.
Where do you feel we are in the market cycle right now?
I think we're at for Cosmos especially. I think we're at like the bottom of the sentiment. Like it's been years of kind of like a lot of unfortunate news for Cosmos, and now with new leadership, I feel like we're at the start of a ramp up.
One piece of advice for builders entering the Cosmos ecosystem, DeFi or crypto in general?
Yeah. Talk to people. I think really reach out to people on Twitter, Telegram. People are so much more willing to talk to you than you think. And there's so much tribal knowledge of crypto and it's so hard to get it just from looking online. Going and talking to someone, I think you get 10x the usage and people love helping back. With crypto, people love collaborating, giving back, and definitely encourage them to send all the cold DMs that you want.
Where can people follow Stride and stay updated?
Twitter's the best place. So go to Twitter, or you can go to stride.zone and find the Twitter there. The Twitter handle is stride_zone.
We can wrap this up, Vishal. Thank you very much for sharing all this stuff about Stride. I'm really bullish on everything the Cosmos Hub this day, IBC Eureka, Atom alignment, and of course Stride.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. This is such a pleasure, and I hope to be on again later.
Thanks, man. Have a great one.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it, you too.